Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is November 15th, and this is another of our bi-weekly SIG Apps calls. My name is Maciej, and I'll be your host today. We're one day away from code freeze, 123 code freeze, which is due tomorrow, November 16th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that leaves us somewhere around 33 hours away from the code freeze. So try putting your OPRs together and ping folks either on Slack or on GitHub or wherever you can reach them and get your stuff merged before that date. After that date, every single code will require an exception. I've linked the dates, so that's pretty much all with regards to the code freeze. And now jumping right into the main topic of our today's call, which is a cron job time zone. I should probably put my name next to it since that's the topic that I want to discuss. So the thing is that during updating Robfig cron library, which we are using for both parsing the cron spec and also for calculating when will be the next time when a job should be created, a feature creeped in, a feature that allows specifying the time zone for a cron job. And it was brought to my attention this past week, or even slightly before, that if you specify a cron TZ variable before this, the schedule specifier, you are able to set a cron job time zone. Of course, that is a unsupported feature because back in the day, we decided not to support the cron time zones in cron job. Although during one of the our previous meetings, we've agreed that yes, we will open the doors for adding the time zone functionality, but I would prefer the time zone functionality be an official feature, not one that just happens to slip through the side doors. So the current situation looks that the docs got updated even for 122, because that's basically when I noticed that someone was trying to update this information, which was pointing that 121, but actually 122 when is when this feature started to work properly. So the state that we're currently in is that we have a feature that slipped in between the cracks, and some people actually started using it. It's hard to say how many users are there that started relying on this feature. And the question to the broader community is how we should react to this functionality. I'm personally I'm considering two options. One will be a hard fail for as in we would update the validation mechanism such that everybody who is using this kind of feature creep would get a validation error, and that would make their cron job not functional. Alternatively, we would put a warning on a cron job that is using this feature to explicitly state that this is an unsupported feature, and at the same time remove the docs, probably write a blog post, and still continue to pursue the cron job time zone support in the next release. So I'll be curious to hear what others think about this.
Well, I guess the concern I have is it's considered a stable API. And even though this was done by accident, people have started using it. So if we take it out and we break people's clusters, it's kind of a bad show. But then on the other side, we had an enhancement for this, which we decided not to accept. So it was kind of rather explicit that we should not do this, right? So like our enhancement process has gotten out of sync with the community documentation, which is advertising the feature that we decided explicitly not to do. But then one more turn to it is that the reason we decided not to do it was because there was no reliable implementation of the time zone database that we could expect to be installed on every cluster. When with the new kind of Golang implementation, well, there actually sort of is. So it's kind of 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Like I would lean more towards just like apologize and let the unintentional feature continue, because people who aren't using it don't ever have to. And then people who are using it won't be broken, and maybe updating the documentation with an explanation and a word of caution.
Yeah, that's basically the option that over the past 2 days, I'm leaning the most into, because as you said, the API is stable and I don't want to break anyone's cluster or functionality, because we would harden the validation. It's most likely our mistake that we didn't notice this functionality creeped in, but we can't break the users. In parallel, we will pursue a proper time zone support, where the time zone will be a separate field and it will be properly taken into account, especially that there is an interest in upstream, in community to push this feature forward. And we did discuss this topic a couple meetings ago, and there is already APR open adding this kind of functionality to cron jobs. Like you said, Go already supports this, so we don't have a problem with allowing it. But at the same time, I'm willing to warn the current users that they are using an unsupported feature. So docs is definitely one possible venue. I'm also considering a blog post describing and apologizing for the state. And also on top of that, I would probably add a warning to a cron job resource, such that it will say that you are using a unsupported feature, and the recommendation is to not, basically. Since that wouldn't break you, but you would have a clear information on the cluster that you're somehow breaking the API contract. Not sure what others think, if that's a good idea or not. I'm not hearing any objections, so I'll probably go with that, and I'll make sure that this lands in before we hit the code freeze tomorrow. And I'll also make sure that this warning goes back in 122 as well, since that's the version where this was exposed, and the same will apply for docs. And then I'll try to put together a blog post explaining this entire situation. Okay. Does anyone else have any other topics that they want to discuss with the group, or you have any particular PRs that you want to push through before the code freeze? Okay, hearing none. So with that, I'll give you back about 45 minutes of your time. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.